Breaking news, an NC State student forced into a car and sexually assaulted. What type of vehicle the suspect was driving that you need to be on the lookout for.
A crackdown on illegal gambling operations across Chatham County. We're taking you inside the scene of the biggest bust, sharing why neighbors hope it'll make their entire community feel safer.
Then more than 200 animals found starved and injured on a Wake County property. What neighbors are revealing about the man who's now facing 90 counts of animal cruelty.
Futurecast shows rain potential and dropping temperatures. See the new timeline.
Right now at 7 o'clock, we are tracking breaking news here in Raleigh. An NC State student sexually assaulted while walking near campus. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. WRAL's Julian Grace has been tracking down this story and joins us live now with an update. Julian?
Ashley, all of this happened right here on this busy stretch of the 2400 block of Hillsborough Street. And many business owners and students, they're shocked to learn that all of this happened in broad daylight. Here's a map to give you a better depiction on exactly where this happened. This stretch is filled with a number of businesses and restaurants. And of course, the university is just across the street. This is what we're told from police. That suspect snatched the student around 11 o'clock into his car and then drove to another location where she was sexually assaulted. Then that call for help came in the 12 o'clock hour, around about 12:37 or so. Now, we're told from police, we have a very vague description of the suspect, but we're told he was in a blue sedan. This is what is happening right now. Business owners along this stretch, they're double checking their cameras to see if they saw anything suspicious in that 11 o'clock hour here along Hillsborough Street. This is what will happen tonight. We will talk to students and also a business owner that are raising awareness about all of this that happened along this stretch.
Oh, an alarming set of details. Julian Grace live in Raleigh. Thank you. Also breaking at this hour, Durham police issued a warning about a series of carjackings and robberies. Police say the suspects are targeting Hispanic women. We've mapped the locations. You can see many of the incidents in question are in North Durham. WRAL's breaking news tracker was on the scene of one of the carjackings on Meriwether Drive. Police are looking for a group of men wearing ski masks. Locations have included a bus stop and a business parking lot.
A gorgeous shot right here of Carolina Beach, but as we go off beyond the horizon, there are some things churning up outside in the Atlantic. It could spin up a storm that our meteorologists have spotted into something we could feel here on the North Carolina coast. Meteorologist Kat Campbell in the WRAL Severe Weather Center to show us that system, Kat.
It's not your typical tropical system that we're talking about, Dan. This is what we call a homegrown system. So along this stalled front, we're going to be watching for an area of low pressure to form in this general vicinity right here. That wouldn't happen until the middle or end of the week, but we're starting to see signs with the upper level energy and the way the fronts lined up that that's possible, and that area of low pressure may track toward North Carolina over the weekend. At this point, it seems like a fairly low impact event. However, it's worth keeping an eye on and staying up to date for any potential changes. There is a 30% chance that the low pressure system could take on tropical characteristics, possibly becoming a tropical depression. Not out of the question that it could be a tropical storm, and the reason why, it's going to be headed right over the Gulf Stream as it moves toward North Carolina. Very warm ocean water that could help it develop and strengthen. We're going to be watching this, and I'll show you what to expect on Futurecast coming up.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Kat.
Crime in the Glenwood South area is seeping into nearby neighborhoods. The latest incident sent a man to the hospital this weekend. Today, WRAL's Destiny Patterson spoke to residents about their frustration.
It was right here at this intersection where police say a man was shot and sent to the hospital this weekend. And it was here where a restaurant manager was assaulted last month. He died days later. And neighbors say they're fed up and they're concerned about their safety. When the weekend rolls around, Ben Bridget says he braces himself for instances like these.
It's not so much like having a good time. It's about the safety issue.
Just this weekend, police say Adarian Newsom shot a man near Tucker Street. Just about 15 minutes later on the same night, in this video shared with WRAL, you can see a group of people ripping up street signs on Park Drive.
Glenwood South has recovered from the pandemic. With that comes some of the bad side effects.
RPD data shows that reported assaults are down by about 21% on Glenwood South. Meanwhile, officers have issued 77 weapons violations since the beginning of the year. That's up about 24%.
When you have thousands of people here Friday and Saturday night, there are going to be incidents that happen.
The Raleigh Police Department beefed up its patrols in the popular entertainment district. The city is also adding private, unarmed security to help the understaffed department. Larry Miller says their plans are working.
The third factor is the people that come here. How do you improve their behavior?
There's no one solution. Lindsay says he wants to see more officers in the nearby neighborhoods and more people in the community getting involved in reporting incidents. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Raleigh.
I'm Mark Boyle in the WRAL Live Center right now. A brand new initiative here in Wake County announced and the details rolled out to help those who are homeless living in the community have stable housing. On your screen, here's the brand new information about this program. Step Up works with public and private partners to purchase older motels and convert them into studio apartments for those in need of permanent supportive housing. Wake County and local nonprofits will provide vouchers and subsidized rent. So right now, the county working with this program to identify exactly those motels or locations that they'd like to convert into those studio apartments and get those who need help who live in this community. As for the target completion date here, that's been identified as September 1st of 2025. Back to you.
Mark, thank you. A strange turn of politics on Jones Street, where the Republican supermajority now needs help from Democrats to pass the state budget that it wants. It all comes back to casinos. Republicans in the state Senate, they want them. A group of conservatives in the House do not. GOP leaders offered to tie casinos to Medicaid expansion in an attempt to get Democrats to vote for it, but Democrats have said they won't budge because they were not involved in the discussions up to this point. And as state lawmakers discuss expanding what video gambling is legal, the Chatham County Sheriff's Office says it's cracking down on illegal gambling operations. Investigators announced charges against the owners of 17 businesses for running video gambling machines with cash payouts. WRL's Keenan Willard went to the scene of the largest bust, which some neighbors are calling a win for the community's safety.
It doesn't look like much today, really just an empty storefront in a strip mall in Siler City. But investigators say up until recently, this was the single largest illegal gambling operation in Chatham County, and just one of the locations whose owners are now facing felony charges.
Deputies seizing entire gaming machines, breaking others open for the hardware inside. The Chatham Sheriff's Office says this was the last step of a months-long investigation into illegal gambling, including deputies going undercover to find video gaming terminals that paid out cash. 17 business owners were charged with running these machines. 6 of them now facing felonies for operating 5 or more.
They were pulling just a bunch of machines out of the front door. I would have had no idea that it was probably one of the biggest in Chatham County.
From 2 doors down, Matthew Downey witnessed the biggest bust in the operation. Deputies finding 50 gambling machines at Infinity Gaming in Siler City. Today, the business is shuttered, littered with broken up computers.
Honestly, that's crazy, especially how you say it was next door to me. I mean, if it's illegal, then obviously it's a good thing.
Business owners in this complex say they never saw any major incidents connected to the alleged gambling parlor, but some gamblers would loiter and approach their employees and customers late at night. They say the removal of the site has been an improvement for the area.
I would say it's better because we haven't had those people kind of riding around in bikes, asking for money.
Keenan Willard, WRAL News, Chatham County.
A Garner man now faces 90 counts of felony animal cruelty. Investigators found more than 200 animals on his property, injured, emaciated, and malnourished. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan talked to the neighbors about the situation.
Behind a chain link fence, cows lay on top of gravel. Goats wander down a driveway and hang out under cars.
It's disturbing on a big level.
Neighbors say the situation at the 7500 block of Trudy Lane in Garner is heartbreaking.
For as many animals that they have, they should have more acreage.
This was the situation on Sunday. You can see dozens of chickens, cows, and other livestock roaming around in a small fenced-in pen. By Monday, very few animals remained.
It was nice to see that the animals have received some sort of justice, but you can't help the ones that, have perished.
On Sunday, the Wake County Sheriff's Office came to the property to discover more than 200 animals starved, emaciated, or dead. 3 animals had to be euthanized. 90 livestock were injured or emaciated, according to warrants.
It's affected the kids because they would see sick animals, some dead ones.
One of the caretakers of the animals, Ronald Kearney, was charged with 90 counts of felony animal cruelty. Another renter on the property was charged with 1 count of misdemeanor animal cruelty. Kearney appeared in court Monday.
I really don't even know what I've done wrong.
Many neighbors said the animals appeared here about 10 months ago and often would wander on their property. Neighbors told us the caretakers were buying and selling the animals and obtained them from multiple states.
Kearney remains in the Wake County Detention Center under a $90,000 bond. The judge says if he does post bond, he will not be able to care for or possess any animals. Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News, Raleigh.
And you know what? The Sheriff's Office and Animal Control have been called to that home 14 times so far this year. We are still working to learn where the animals seized will end up.
Happening right now in Durham, sanitation workers making a stand after a strike earlier this month. We have a live look. Tonight, Durham City Council meeting underway. You can see members of the union there for Durham sanitation workers. They're out in force. They had signs. You see them holding them in the background, calling for fair pay. The city manager proposed a one-time bonus that the union calls insufficient. The issue is definitely on the agenda for Thursday's council work session. We'll keep you up to date.
Doctors say the new COVID boosters are what you should be getting. Some people who tried called WRAL when their insurance was not ready to cover the shots. We made some calls for you, and next at 7 we have an update. And more than 1 million people worldwide took to the streets to protest fossil fuels. We'll explain the timing and the message coming up. Early birds trying to get their new COVID shots are running into issues with insurance. Medicare, Medicaid, and health insurance should cover the vaccine. Several people who tried to get shots this weekend told us they had problems with Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage. When we reached out today, the company told us it took time to update their computers to accept and pay for the new boosters. They say claims are now processing correctly, and the company is, quote, working to reprocess any claims submitted before these new billing codes went into effect. A local pharmacist we talked to did suggest calling before you book the appointment. Pharmacists can run a test claim to make sure your insurance is all caught up. If you don't have insurance or your insurance doesn't cover the total cost, you still have options. Wake County Public Health will offer the Moderna vaccine. It should arrive this week. You can book appointments online.
Well, the custody battle over a cat has ended. Bob the cat is going back to his first home in Kansas. The saga comes to a close. Let's recap it just one last time, shall we? Bob was adopted in 2013 in Kansas, then disappeared from that person's property. A year after that adoption, a woman now in Fuquay-Varina named Alex Strait lived in Kansas at the time, we should mention. She says she found Bob in bad condition and took him to the vet. Fast forward to recently, years after she moved to Raleigh, and it was discovered Bob actually had a microchip this entire time. The Wake County Animal Center said that is why Bob is going back to the original owner.
Protesters across 54 countries gathered in the streets to demand action against global warming ahead of a big climate summit and United Nations meetings in New York this week. WRAL climate change reporter Liz McLaughlin gives us a closer look at the protest turnout and the issues in the spotlight this week.
Climate Week starts in New York City today, where world leaders, scientists, business titans, and activists are gathering to discuss turning the tide against climate change. Sunday, an estimated 75,000 protesters took to the streets in Manhattan to kick off the summit.
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
Chanting that the future and their lives depend on ending the use of fossil fuels. Protesters called out President Joe Biden, urging him to stop approving new oil and gas projects and to declare a climate emergency.
What he needs to do in order to earn youth votes and win the 2024 election is to end fossil fuels.
The march featured speeches from celebrities and politicians, including Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
That has got to end.
The annual week-long conference comes amid a historic stretch of extreme heat, with this year on track to be the warmest on record.
Climate extremes are hitting North Carolina and other places all around the world, and that's waking all of us up wherever we are. We've got to respond in some constructive way to that, even if it's just trying to adapt and be resilient to those changes.
Climate Week coincides with the United Nations General Assembly, the first full-scale gathering since the COVID pandemic, with a full-day UN climate summit called by the Secretary General on Wednesday. Many of the leaders of the countries that cause the most heat trap and carbon pollution will not be in attendance, including President Biden. Instead, the White House is sending special climate envoy John Kerry. Over the past 100 years, the U.S. has put more heat-trapping carbon in the atmosphere than any other country, though China now emits more carbon pollution on an annual basis. Xi Jinping will also be skipping the climate gathering.
Our Liz McLaughlin reporting. Well, look at this evening in Sanford. A nice sunset starting to appear here as we close out our first work week day. Meteorologist Kat Campbell here with the forecast.
And you know, we're off to a pretty good start from Monday, Ashley. The weather today was absolutely beautiful. If you want to sit outside tonight, maybe go with a little fire pit, should be a good night to do that. Temperatures should be right around the low 70s at 8 o'clock, by 9, 10 o'clock in the mid to upper 60s. All around a great night. We've got clear skies outside tonight, light wind and dry air. Everything we need for a really nice, comfortable, crisp fall feeling night. Low temperatures fall into the low to mid 50s by daybreak tomorrow morning. Look at these numbers: 56 in Raleigh and Goldsboro, 57 in Fayetteville, 50 in Roxborough, 54 degrees in Fayetteville. Boy, it's going to be a beautiful start to the day tomorrow. And we hold on to this comfortable air all throughout the week. That's the good news. The less humid air is here to stay with dew points in the 50s. However, as we get toward the end of the work week and into the weekend, that's when we begin to see some changes. This is a sign as dew points go up. They're a measure of moisture in the air. That's a sign that we've got some moisture moving in, and unfortunately, that may line up with some issues for your weekend forecast. We're just stuck with this really beautiful week, nice weather during the work week, and then we get to the weekend and things quickly change with more clouds and some rain as we watch a coastal low bring the potential for rain. It is still too early for us to really pinpoint at what point this weekend we could see the best chance for rain and how much rain we could see. But what we're watching is what we would call a homegrown tropical system. So low pressure to spin up along a front as we get into likely Thursday would be during the day when we see that. And then as we move ahead into Friday, we could begin to see some of this rain try to spread inland Friday night. This is the European model here, which shows less activity for us as we get into Saturday, and the second low bringing more rain on Sunday. And the American model brings most of the rain in on Saturday. So we've got some timing differences based on the location of the low developing in different spots. We're going to have to wait for that to begin to develop, and that wouldn't happen until closer to Wednesday night. So stay tuned for updates. We could see some rain from it, maybe some breezy conditions with some wind gusts in the 30 to 35 miles per hour. We would not expect a very strong sustained wind, and some stronger gusts possible for the Outer Banks. At this point, it doesn't look like it would be a very high impact event for us, but that could change, so we're going to be watching it very closely for you in the coming days. I wouldn't reroute any weekend plans just yet, but if you have the opportunity to go ahead and get some yard work done before the weekend, then you're definitely going to be in better shape. As we get into Saturday, that's when we've got the chance for rain ramping up. It begins to ramp up Friday night, though. We go to a 40% chance for rain with more clouds in place Friday. And over the weekend, as we see more clouds and rain move in, that's why temperatures are going to be limited to the 70s potentially for the weekend. Up until then, our morning lows are in the mid 50s to lower 60s by the end of the week. Cool mornings, warm afternoons, low humidity. Try to enjoy the work week temperatures while you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kat.
So your next trip to the Outer Banks might take a little bit longer. We're going to explain why next. Also, a live look. Durham Bulls Athletic Park. Nice little sunset in the background. The big changes coming for the holidays still ahead. Also, you can listen to this newscast as a podcast. The WRAL News Daily Podcast features entire newscast from beginning to end. That's morning, noon, evening. The 7 p.m. newscast, of course, also added to that podcast each and every day. You can find WRAL News Daily in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.
The Durham Bulls Athletic Park is going to get quite a facelift. It's going to look a lot different than this over the holidays.
I'm very excited about this. This will be a lot of fun. So the stadium, of course, you know it very well. We're going to turn it into the Triangle's newest walkthrough holiday light event. So get ready for Woolies Winter Wonderland. All right, enjoying holiday shopping, lights, igloos, much more from November 22nd all the way through New Year's Eve. I love the holidays. I'm
Oh,
kind of a
yeah.
sucker for it. So how fun. Tickets are going to go on sale Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. You can visit WRAL.com, enter Wonderland in the search bar, and learn more. The graphics look good. We got the people sled riding in the background. I'm not a huge fan of snow, but I could take a little bit of snow at the Wonderland.
I think this is going to be so much fun because there's so many different things being offered. And then, once you're all done, you can go to a nearby restaurant. It's in such a great area.
It's exciting. It'll
Yeah.
be fun. There are a few changes at the coast this weekend. First, figure in extra time if you're taking a trip to the Outer Banks. That's because work started today on the US 64 bridge between Manteo and Nags Head to repair bumps in the bridge. Traffic will be down to one lane each direction for much of the next 2 years. Okay, so it's going to be a while. Crews will fix the westbound lanes first, then the bridge will go back to 4 lanes for next summer when it gets really busy. Work should start on the eastbound lanes next fall. The whole thing should be complete in 2025.
And there won't be any cars or horses allowed at Topsail Beach this year. The town says it will not sell beach access permits this year. You see, the beach needs a little TLC, so it's doing a beach re-nourishment project. Crews will be out there pumping more sand onto the beach after much of it washed away from erosion. Crews say visitors could disrupt that work. The town of Topsail Beach expects permits to be available again next year. Once it's had a little bit of time to heal.
We all need a little re-nourishment, beaches included. So the Tar Heel Traveler is taking us to the beach this week. Scott Mason and photographer Sean Braswell take us up and down the coast to introduce you to our state's many lighthouses. Hear the fascinating stories of these structures that have dotted our coast for centuries. That is Wednesday night at 7:30. Scott tells a great story.
Oh, he sure does. Thank you for making WRAL your choice for local news. Our next newscast is at 10 on Fox 50 and 11 on WRAL. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.